So we're going to have a recap of maybe the top 5 most enjoyable films that you saw this year.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the greatest films, but the ones that you like the most.
Right. That sounds good. Sounds good.
Want to start?
Do I want to start?
Yeah.
Why
I
not?
think you do.
Why not?
I see it in your eye. You want it.
That's just me trying to recycle the last 2 months rather than just the last whole year.
The whole year. I can't even remember what I saw 2 weeks ago.
Because it's been a challenging year.
Crappy
movies.
See, I think this has been a year of a lot of good films, a lot more good films than bad films. Not that there hasn't been bad films,
but there's been a lot of films that I knew were going to be good, and I just haven't gotten to see.
Yeah,
either,
a lot of films I haven't been able to see.
I'd throw Blade Runner 2049 in here if I'd actually seen it, because I just feel that I would probably.
I missed Dunkirk.
Be in my one
I
film.
really did want to see Dunkirk, but I didn't get a chance to. Or what opened this weekend?
We'll do
the darkest hour.
To watch that movie and then talk about it.
Sounds good.
Because I'm a WW2 fan. I mean, we can talk for hours.
I got a documentary series for you then.
Nice.
We'll talk later.
Okay.
Yeah, no, there's some good stuff that I've seen as well that you might enjoy. All right, so my top 5 for this year, most of the stuff I saw were kind of either superhero or like comic book movies of some sort.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, mine too.
Wonder Woman was up there. I would say that was a great movie for this year. I mean, it really gave me some hope
you need a reminder.
back for DC, and it was cool to see, them do. It was almost like an independent flick of theirs, but within the bigger group of Justice League.
Yeah.
So that hit really well for me. Thor Ragnarok was really good. That was fun.
That was a good one.
The
That was really
comedic
awesome.
parts in that one was a little too much for me in spots.
You told me about the
man.
time where you're with your daughter and they were like killing a guy.
Oh man. No,
Do you
it wasn't
remember
just a guy. It was like everybody within the shot was being,
was being murdered.
Was being murdered.
Well, they did. Are you talking Guardians or Thor?
No.
Because they did that in
Thor.
Guardians too.
Guardians, yeah.
No, there's the whole scene with
the arrow going around. And,
literally everyone getting
I did
killed.
not take my daughter
raining
to that.
bodies.
For some reason with Thor, I thought, oh yeah, this will be okay, but it very much turned into just death and mayhem.
Well, they are PG-13
with comedy coming on.
Well, think about it. They kind of did all that comedic aspect of it because Ragnarok, in essence, is a genocide.
Yeah.
So they cannot just not do the killing part.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much that. It was just the timing and the way they had done it. It was like right in the midst of all this destruction. It's like Thor is basically the ruling, person. You've got Odin, but he's so old and decrepit. It's like you got Thor here, who's the ruler of Asgard, and yet after this whole slaughter of his people, and he's cracking jokes when you're like, all right, that might have been a little.
I did think, but I still rolled with it.
Well, it's one of those weird spots where you just literally go ha 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 ha, and the guy's like getting murdered. And it's there are moments where it's just like, how did this happen?
And then the
how
whole
does
end
this
of it,
actually
the
happen?
whole end of it is just like Asgard isn't really a place; it's a people. But we just watched them all get slaughtered. And
Yeah,
laughed
we've
our
only
butts
got
off
like
about 'em.
10,000 of our people left, but
Okay,
Anyway, besides that, it was still good fun. I loved the color, I loved the characters,
The music.
I loved the music as well.
From work.
All right, so number 3,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. I forgot about that.
Get Out was there.
yeah, Get Out.
Get Out was a great flick.
Get Out was great. It was one of the most original.
It was very Stepford Wives, so it wasn't completely original.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the way
yeah,
that
okay, I
Stepford
see
presented
what-
it
I
was
see,
great,
yeah.
and then it had its quirkiness to where it was almost Twin Peakish for me.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
It's kind of surreal.
Yeah, it had
quirky
some very
humor.
surreal moments, and then things where at the end it could have gone in so many different directions, and it actually just ended on a very solid note.
It wasn't predictable like it could have been.
But the actors in
Jordan
it, and
Peele,
just,
man.
I love the way that it set the place, it set a tone, and then the characters, it just went deep. To where each one of the characters in there had such personal moments. And I thought each actor in that film just
it was a
nailed
good
it.
cast.
Just
Very
nailed
good
it.
cast.
So
that's 3.
That was a big one for me this year. Boy, oh boy. What else was on there? So Wonder Woman. I want to say Justice League was on there. We'll throw it in there. What the heck? Justice League.
I had no beef with that. That was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That was also fun. I could have thought that was really disappointing, and it was probably almost like a Star Wars thing to me, where many things could have happened.
You could have
nitpicked
nitpicked it, but
I could nitpick it into the dirt and probably to Krypton and back again, into a smoldering ash, and then what? Actually, just maybe came out of that movie feeling feeling good. Like I just had a good movie experience. It was, hey.
I mean, they didn't have years and years of films building up to this, where you know what I mean. So, being that it's like the fifth movie in the current DC cinematic universe, for having to fast track it, I think you're right. They did a good job.
Yeah. I thought it came out to just be a good movie, especially in front as the line was coming, and it just gave me hope for what's to come in the DC universe.
Bring us the Schneider cut.
Will there be a 3-hour cut? I'd sit through it.
Oh, and okay, so Logan would be up there too.
I mean,
yes, Logan.
So, man, they're all superhero flicks for me.
Logan made me cry.
Logan was
like it got me right in the feels.
Yeah,
that was great.
Twice. Because
you know what?
Patrick Stewart.
Lego Batman.
Yeah,
Man.
That was a lot of fun.
I'm just gonna have to backstep a moment. I would put Lego Batman in front of Justice League because that one, by far and away, and I told you about this earlier,
was
Ben,
really fun.
It was great in the sense where you could just tell that the people who wrote that and produced it were like, we love this source material, and we're just gonna dive into every ridiculous.
Plus, Will Arnett's Batman is, come on.
Yeah,
and I'm
There's no Adam West, but he's funny.
But the action was like nonstop, and then the parts that they did kind of slow it down was still they just took nods to everything that you could possibly ask for, and then made fun of it at the same time.
Will Arnett's voice was perfect for Batman. Also, yeah.
And I don't know if they do like most
League.
animated movies where they film the dialogue separately, or if they had Michael Cera in the same room with Will Arnett, but that would have been great just because of the time they worked together on Arrested Development.
Yeah.
A rapport.
The whole Robin's outfit where he pulls the Jamaican outfit off of his bat shelf, And it was just
great.
like, I don't know about this. Maybe I should pull these legs off. And then it's just like, take these
so
dreadlocks
ridiculous
in
how
his
they
head.
did that.
Hey.
Well, is that all 5?
That's
Is that
fine.
5?
Just real quick, I actually avoid
Actually put
Lego
6
movies
in.
like the plague.
You didn't like the first
I
Lego
don't.
movie?
I don't like.
First Lego movie was great.
Just honestly,
I agree.
Kidding me.
I personally just hate him because it just didn't. Anyway, there are many reasons, but it just diminishes the characters, etc. I hate him. But I did break down and watch Lego Batman and I loved it.
Finishes
So
the
anyway.
characters. They're a
So
2-hour toy commercial.
So why don't you
Yeah,
go, Ben?
just anyway.
Take the top 5.
No, I mean, like everybody.
Oh, man.
I wish I could have said Justice League. My two most anticipated films of the entire year were Justice League and The Last Jedi. Unfortunately, they were the most disappointing for me. I did love Kong Skull. I did love
Skull
Kong.
Island? Oh, Skull Island was great.
I don't know.
My favorite, honestly though, my favorite of the year would have to be Guardians, and then Thor, and then Wonder Woman.
All good.
Can I read
Those
all
are my
5 of mine?
top
good
3,
movies.
and then
Guardians.
and then of
Guardians
course
was great.
Blade Runner is number 4, and then I'd have to say Split would be number 5.
Split was really good. Very surprising with that.
Yeah, those are mine.
Somebody spoiled it for me though, and they did mention that it had a tie to Unbreakable, and so that was what got me to see it. Otherwise, as much as I like James McAvoy, I've lost faith in spending an hour and a half to 2 hours with M. Night Shyamalan because I just don't. However you put it, because I just had a falling out with so many films that were just not good in a row, despite his unique visual style. But I was very surprised by Split, and just the scene with James McAvoy as the kid, and he's doing like the dance to the dubstep, like that whole scene. The man deserves an Oscar nomination just for that scene.
That was great.
That was one of the funniest. Because it's not a comedy at all, right? It's kind of dark and serious.
but
it
he's
almost
doing-
feels like a horror film, but that scene was
He's doing
hilarious
some great things with it.
and
He was
creepy
great.
at the same time. And
You know what was great
it's
about
hard to
that one
do.
too? It was just like that John Cusack one, Identity, where
Yeah.
he's going after and he's trying to find which one of the personalities is basically, and it happens to be the kid at the end. who's
Identity.
causing it.
People said
And
that
then you
was
see that in
it's a very
Split, too.
underrated film.
Who like the kid character was like by far, kind of the most.
Is that where he's the serial killer? Is that the? No, that's something else. Never mind. I'm thinking of something else. Continue.
No. I mean, the kid is basically the one who says in Split, like, I'm the one who opened the door to the other two characters
Yeah.
who've been plotting against
Yeah.
everyone else, and that was a good. It was a good. I don't want to say twist, but it was kind of cool how they all just stacked up, and they each were sharing their own little place of the light, and that being that little kid being so innocent and the one just having fun is also the one that just causes the demise for everyone and unleashes the beast.
Yeah, I have to give credit to James McAvoy for that role. I think he should get an Oscar
He's
nod.
great.
I also think I think Mark Hamill should get an Oscar nod for his performance. I think he gave it his all. You know, whether you liked the way Luke's story went or not, just the fact
he's still great.
that the material he was given and he had to work with, he gave the best performance of his career. And I as much as I love Luke Skywalker, he's going to be always the definitive Joker for me. Like, I think he just, created this iconic role, but then nailed this other iconic role that he didn't create.
Maybe I'm going to offend somebody with this question, but have he ever got any recognition for his Joker?
That's what I'm talking about.
He's never.
Been, I mean, other than
Emmys or anything like that.
Other than he's popular enough that he's been able to do it throughout all of the original the 90s to 2000s DC animated television series, as well as video games and animated movies. And I think it's probably the most second recognizable character that he's ever played. So when he's doing fan conventions and things, it's either Luke Skywalker or the Joker. Probably not Corvette Summer. Maybe. Or the Big Red One. Unfortunately, the Big Red One is a damn good movie that he did. It's a World War II movie. World War II movie directed by Samuel Fuller, loosely based on his experiences in World War II. Mark Hamill's great in that movie, too. Very underrated film.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've actually...
Early 80s, I think 82. So it's in between Empire and Jedi. When he was sort of becoming that rising star that's for some reason never happened.
Yeah.
I don't know why he never became an A-lister. Harrison Ford seemed to be the only one of the original cast who wasn't an already established actor like Alec Guinness or Peter Cushing, who became the A-lister one. I think,
and he's way more talented than Harrison.
Well, he could certainly do more voices than Harrison Ford. But I'm gonna my top five. It's kind of a different shift. Like I loved all the Marvel sci-fi types. I mean, I loved War for the Planet of the Apes. I liked Valerian. It wasn't as good as The Fifth Element, but it was good.
Out this year. I actually loved Valerian.
Valerian was fun, but my top five is kind of at a different. Like I'm gonna have to say that for me the best film that I've sat through this year was Trainspotting 2. And maybe it's because I am biased to the original Trainspotting, but they seriously could have screwed that movie up. They could have just redid the first film or been overly sentimental, but it was the right amount of balance. Maybe it's where I am in my life and where those characters are in their lives. I just think it was the perfect companion piece to the original film, and it touched on a lot of emotion for me without actually getting me emotional. I just thought it was, if you're going to tell a sequel to a story that didn't necessarily need a sequel, that's the way to do it. That would be my absolute favorite film of the year. Blade Runner 2049 would be my second favorite film.
Cool.
Roger Deakins deserves an Oscar nod just for the way that film was shot. I thought the story, it's a perfect companion piece to the first Blade Runner without completely retreading the material. Problem with both of these movies, though, is if you haven't seen the originals, you're not really going to know what's going on in the sequels. The third one I saw that I think was my favorite was this, actually a documentary, a Turkish documentary called Kedi. It's about the cat population in Istanbul, and you think, well, that's cute.
I've heard great things about that. Actually,
it's not like a Milo and Otis. It's not following an adventure.
Right.
It's straight up a documentary about how the culture there loves and embraces these animals, and how the more industrialized the country becomes, the more they're getting pushed out. But it was an adorable film. And just a really well-made documentary. I'm going to have to say my last two for the year, I'm probably going to have to go with Baby Driver. I mean, it's nothing you haven't seen before as far between. That's a tough one because Wind River, I had to watch it twice to actually really appreciate that film. It blew me away. The first time I saw it, I was kind of like, well, it's a kind of a pot boiler thriller. But the second time I watched it, I don't know, it was a better experience. It had more deeper meaning. Or Get Out. That's a damn good film. That's a tough one. I'd probably say Free Fire. Free Fire technically came out last year at the end of the year to select cinemas, but it didn't actually come to
a full
release, wide release until earlier this year. So I'm going to count it. Free Fire from Ben Wheatley, who did A Field in England. He also did High Rise. Based on the book by J.G. Ballard. But Free Fire, It's the only action movie I've ever seen where a bunch of people are lit for 90 minutes or in a warehouse together just shooting at each other. But it's one of the funniest, most violent films I've ever seen, and it was hilarious. It's got some of Ben Wheatley's trademark gore, but it's got a lot of humor. I mean, it's a cool movie, kind of like the way you Pulp Fiction or Trainspotting, just cool.
Was it a European flick or is
It's a British film.
Okay.
Because he's British and most of the cast is English. There's I think 2 Americans in the film, Armie Hammer and Brie Larson, and the rest of the cast are all Cillian Murphy, and they're all English or British actors, but they for the most part they do American accents, and like Sam Riley, who played in the movie Control, where he played Ian Curtis from Joy Division. So he does this Boston
I've heard actually
accent.
really good things about that.
So Free Fire, it's set in Boston in the late 70s, and it's basically about some IRA people who are in Boston, because if you're Irish and you're coming to America, I guess you're going to go to Boston. And they're in a warehouse to buy arms from Charlton Colby, who actually doesn't use his really good American accent. He actually uses his South African. And just through a series of misunderstandings, the whole movie is just people shooting at each other.
Right, okay.
And you think, there's no way. That's like a one joke premise. You couldn't possibly do a 90-minute movie that's compelling. And yet, yeah, movie's good.
Okay.
It's really good. So those are my top 5.
Nice.
A lot to look forward to next year, though, right?
Anyway, thanks a lot for joining. As everybody knows, and as you should know, let's have a conversation. Let's not bark at each other. Let's not call each other names. We love movies, and we love the movable
The moving image.
image, and so we like stories. So let's talk about it, and let's not get pissed off at each other and yell at each other.
Because otherwise, I will punch you in the face.
Perfect.